when they heard this, they were surprised, they were astonished. Like, how is this even possible? To the extent that some of them, they began to call the Prophet ﷺ a liar. They began to question him. And they began to mock him. Now because lots of them, the chiefs of the Quraysh, they had been to Bayt al-Muqaddas. And they knew the geography and they knew what it looked like. And they knew that the Prophet ﷺ, he'd never been. So they thought, let's try to trap him. We're asking questions because they couldn't fathom how is it possible that in a short space of time, the Prophet ﷺ, he went hundreds of miles away and he came back as well. You know, in that days there was no airplanes, there was no travel like that. It was all on camel or horse, and it took days, weeks, months to travel distance. They knew the Prophet ﷺ had never been before. So in order to try and entrap, they said with us, and they had been many times, they knew what it looked like. So they said, right, we're going to ask him some questions and we'll prove that he hasn't been. So then they started asking questions about the place, what did it look like, the pillars, all of that. Now, when they started testing in this manner, at that time Allah Ta'ala brought the image of the entire structure of Bayt al-Muqaddas in front of the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ. And he answered each and every single one of their questions that were asked. And because they had these doubts, because they had these questions, from among the people, some of them, they weren't satisfied. They still wanted to ask questions. Some of them asked the Prophet ﷺ about the caravans that were traveling between the two places. And it says that the Prophet ﷺ, he even told them the exact location of the caravans that were traveling between the cities. Now the next day what happened was, the news had spread around Makkah among the Quraysh. That, you know, the son of Abdullah, the Prophet ﷺ, you know, what is claiming to have happened, the news was spreading. And the mother of the believers, Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says that when this miracle happened of Miraj, and next morning this news was spreading, she says some of the non-Muslims, they came running to Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala. And they said to him, with this intention, that we're going to say to him, look what your friend is saying today. So they came running, they said, oh Abu Bakr, have you heard what your friend is saying today? Have you heard the latest news? And he said, tell me, what does he say? So they said to him that, you know, your friend, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said that last night, not even the whole night, in a short portion of the night, he said that he went from Masjid al-Haram all the way to Masjid al-Aqsa and came back in one night. Okay? And now they're waiting to see the reaction of Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala. That he's going to have surprise, he's going to be astonished, he's going to say, how is that even possible? He said, are you sure? Are you sure that's what the Prophet ﷺ said? And they said, we're sure this is what he's saying. That's exactly what the Prophet ﷺ has said. Upon hearing this, Hazrat Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala, he said that if he ﷺ has said this, then undoubtedly, without a shadow of a doubt, he has spoken the truth, and I testify to you that without hesitation that he has spoken the truth. Such was his iman. Such was his faith in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Achha, they didn't stop there. They said, but okay, that's your understanding. But do you even accept the more astonishing bit what he's saying? Was that he went to Bayt al-Muqaddas and that he did all of this in one night. And then Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala to answer them and to finish off any argument that they had, he said, of course I do. He said, I testify, I believe in him when he gives us news of what's happening in the heavens. And that news is given day and night. And of course, that's more surprising and couldn't be more astonishing. He said that I believe every single thing that comes out of his mouth. And from that day, he became known as a Siddiq. That was his faith. That was his commitment to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you know, this is why, regarding the maqam, the status of Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, he once said that you know, you could take the iman of the entire ummah and place it on one side of the scales, and take the iman of Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala anhu on the other side of the scales. The iman of Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala anhu would be valuable and stronger than the rest of the ummah. Such was his faith. Such was the faith of Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, you know, the virtue of Siddiq Akbar radiallahu ta'ala anhu is not because of his fast or his prayer, not his namaz, not his roza. Rather, it's because of what Allah Ta'ala has placed in his heart. And we pray that Allah Ta'ala gives us sadaqah of what has been placed in the heart of Siddiq Akbar. For his sake, Allah Ta'ala makes us a true Ashiq Rasul as well. Now on this night, my dear brothers, in terms of for us, what we learn and what we can take from it, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he saw many things. As we heard, he was taken and he was shown paradise and he was shown the hellfire. And there were many scenes that the Prophet ﷺ witnessed on this night. And of course, we don't have time to go through all of it. But whatever time we have left, just for us to learn something as well, for us to take something away. One of the things the Prophet ﷺ he saw, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, I entered paradise and I saw that its pebbles were made of pearls and the soil was of musk. He said, I saw 4 rivers. One was water, which never changes. The second was milk, the taste of which never changes. The third was of wine, which contains only delight for its personality, there's no intoxication in it. And the 4th river was pure and clean honey. The birds of paradise, he saw them, and he said, Allah Ta'ala Almighty has prepared all of this for his righteous slave. Such bounty, such blessings that no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard, and no mind has ever conceived. And in Jannah is beyond our imagination. Because, you know, there's something like when we hear these waqiyat and these narrations, you try to imagine what Jannah might be like. You know, the best thing you can imagine in your mind, the best of the best, Jannah is even better than that. And again, on the night of Miraj, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that by the man, he was hidden in the light of the Arsh. And he says that I asked, who is this? Ye kaun hai? Kya ye koi farishta hai? Is it an angel? He said, and the reply was no. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, then I asked, is it a prophet? And again the answer was in the negative. He said, then who is this person? Ye kaun hai? Ye kaun shakhs? It was said that this man, this is the man whose tongue would remain in the constant remembrance of Allah Ta'ala. That his heart remained attached to the masjid. And he never was the cause of his parents being spoken ill of or being disrespected. 3 things. 3 qualities that this individual had. One was that he was engaged in the remembrance of Allah Ta'ala. The second was that his heart was attached to the masjid. And the third, he never, through his actions, became a cause that his parents were spoken ill of. That look, so-and-so's son is doing this. So-and-so's son is behaving like this. So-and-so's son is coming in the news today. Nothing like that. But you know of them 3, my dear brothers. You know the second, heart attached to the masjid. Having a connection with the house of Allah. Having a strong relationship. in this day and age, where as we live in 2025, where life is very, very busy. Everyone's busy. It's not that this group of people are busy. आजकल हर कोई busy. किसी के पास time नहीं. We're all busy. But the question we must ask ourselves is, what relationship do I have? हम सब अपने आप से ये सवाल करें. What relationship do I have with the masjid? मस्जिद के साथ मेरा कितना ताल्लुक है? How strong is my connection? ये इस चीज से डिटरमिन होगा ना कि हम मस्जिद में यानी कि हमारा आना कितना है, मस्जिद हमारी रूटीन में किस हद तक शामिल है. If you look at your week, I Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, हम सब ये अपने आप से ये सवाल करें, रिफ्लेक्ट करें ना. मकसद ये ना बयान में हम आए कि हम रिफ्लेक्ट करें. From last Monday until this Sunday, ask yourself, how many times have I been to the masjid? This week, from Monday till Sunday, have I been to the masjid at least once every day? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There will be some people here, definitely among the Buzurg, who will say, yes, every single day I've been to the masjid. But I'm talking to the youth now. Can we say that every day this week I've been to the masjid? There are many other things in our routine. If I ask the question, have we done this every single day this week? The answer would definitely be yes. But have we been to the masjid? How attached are we to the masjid? How close are we to the masjid? There are youngsters, there are many of us will go to the gym 3-4 times a week. Unfortunately, there's many of us that visit the gym more regularly than we visit the masjid. अब आप मुझे बताएं कि हमारी कोई बिजनेस हो, we had a business, and we only went and visited that business, we only looked at the business, we only checked the business once a week. उस बिजनेस का क्या हाल हो? वीक में एक बार से, और वो भी लास्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट. Would that business be successful? या आपकी फैमिली रिलेशनशिप है, आपके बच्चे हैं, and you only went to see your kids once a week for half an hour. Do you think you would have a strong relationship with your children? देखिए चंद चीजें जो हैं, they're part of our routine, they're part of our, and हम उनको जितना भी हम बिजी हो जाए ना, हम उनको अपनी रूटीन से हटा नहीं सकते. यानी आपने कभी सुना है somebody like if we ask ourselves how many times we moved to the masjid this week, and unfortunately if the answer is yeah, once or twice, and then the reason, what's the reason? Too busy. Have you ever heard anybody say यार so busy मुझे खाने के लिए टाइम नहीं मिलता? कभी सुना है किसी से? Very rare you hear इतना बिजी है कि खाने के लिए टाइम नहीं मिलता. No matter how busy our daily routine, हमने कभी सुना है यार मैं इतना बिजी हो गया हूँ कि बच्चों का टाइम हो जाता है स्कूल का, मैं I am so busy I forget to pick my children from the school. कभी सुना है? We always pick our kids from the school. हम सुबह उठते हैं, नाश्ता हम करते हैं. We have our lunch. We go home at night and we always eat the food. No matter how tired we are, no matter how busy we've been. But the question is, my dear sons and brothers, if we don't eat, हम खाना ना खाएं, for example, तो हमारे सेहत पे असर पड़ेगा. Right? You don't eat, you get weaker. It affects your health. You don't eat for one day, you'll be starving. Second day, third day. If you don't drink water, you get dehydrated. यानी ये चीजें अगर हमारी रूटीन से मिस हो जाए, हमारी सेहत पे इसका असर पड़ता है. It affects our body, our health, all of those things are affected. Then ask yourself the question, my dear sons and brothers, कितने दिन गुजर जाते हैं सजदे में, सजदे की तौफीक हमें नसीब ना हो, तो हमारे ईमान पे, हमारी स्पिरिचुअलिटी पे उस पर क्या असर पड़ता है? कभी ये हमने सोचा? That if I don't have my medication, if I don't take my sugar medication on the morning, if I don't take my blood pressure medication, blood pressure will go high. ये सारी चीजें हो जाएंगी. तो यार, if I don't eat fajr in the morning, how am I going to spend the rest of my life? If I don't eat healthy food, this is going to have the impact on my health. What about if I don't visit the masjid every single day? And there are people, आप भी जानते होंगे, मैं भी जानता हूँ, that masjid is in their, आप कह सकते हैं कि the masjid is in their veins. Namaz is part of their routines, part of their lifestyle. काश हम भी ऐसे हों. I may go off myself that I become one of those people as well. जो मस्जिद की रौनक है. You know, you'll see those people. क्या उनके पास family नहीं? You know, my local masjid, every Thursday night there's some youngsters, they come and they clean the masjid for Jummah the next day. And you know, I look at them and I think, you know, they've got families as well. They've got families, they can go to the gym if they want, but they prioritize the masjid. And you know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, you know, the best place in the whole town, in all of Bradford, the best place is the masjid. The best. Nothing compares. Leeds Road, Great Orton Road, you name it, doesn't come close. The best place on this entire road, if this is the only masjid, this is the best place where you guys are sitting right now. लेकिन हम महरूम हैं. We don't spend our time here. हम जब आते हैं here, we're always in a rush. Always in a rush. And you're in a rush, why? Because we waste our time on stupid things like social media and our phones and on irrelevant things. Spend time here. The peace and serenity we get in the house of Allah, you won't get anywhere else. You won't get that anywhere else. And you'll see people who enjoy that. But you know, in order to do that, we have to slow down. We really need to slow ourselves down. We're always in a rush. We always need to go somewhere. We always need to check the news, the latest updates. Why? Slow it down. And अभी से हम तैयारी करेंगे. Please try to make a habit from now. Ramadan is around the corner. But for that, my dear brothers, we have to, you know, if we want to have that fazilah that's mentioned here, the second was heart attached to the masjid. Our heart is attached to many other things at the moment. You know, if you go back to what I said in the last week, there's not a single day when we haven't spent time on our mobile phone. Not a single day. Probably not a single day when we haven't watched the news. Not a single day when, you know, we haven't gone to business or we haven't gone to our work. But then in the same way, but this is even more important, there should not be a single day when we don't visit the masjid. अपनी routine बनाएं. काम से वापस आएं. Of course, we go to work during the day. The Fajr now is about 7 o'clock, right? Most of us, if you're working 9 to 5, we can read Fajr in the masjid. कोशिश करें नियत करते हैं आप. Inshallah, tomorrow morning, Monday morning, all of us, we're going to try to read our Fajr namaz in the masjid, inshallah. The blessings you get from that. Read Fajr in the masjid and then start your day. And if you're working, if you're out of your college or university, try at the very least read your Isha namaz in the masjid as well. Sandwich your day between these two visits to the masjid. See the blessings you feel in your life. Stress, depression, anxiety, slowly, inshallah, you'll rid yourself of all of these things. So let's keep koshish kare. And just very quickly, before I finish my time, maybe one other thing I wanted to mention about what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he saw on the night of Miraj. One scene that he saw should make us tremble with fear. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that he was shown some people who were eating their own flesh. Eating their own flesh. And ye kaun the, why were they doing that? Why were they being made to do that? Ye wo log the, they were those people who in the dunya, they would backbite about people and look for faults in them. लोगों की ग़ीबत करना और उन लोगों के अंदर ऐब ढूंढना, ये बहुत बड़ी बीमारी है. Unfortunately, it's a disease that's permeated all parts of society. कि हमारी आदत बन चुकी है. Unless we engage in backbiting, we दो दोस्त बैठे हैं, a larger group of friends, family members are साथ. Every single gathering, unfortunately, these days, it seems, is involved in backbiting. किसी को पकड़ लिया, anybody could be talking about. It's become so ingrained in us, कि हम नमाज के लिए वुज़ू करते हैं, वुज़ू करके मस्जिद में आ रहे हैं. But on the way, if we're talking to somebody, chances are we're doing some ग़ीबत as well. नमाज अदा की, नमाज पढ़ के हम घर जा रहे हैं, नमाजी आपस में बात करें, उसमें भी ग़ीबत. And what is backbiting? Is to say something about someone in his absence. that if that person heard it, he wouldn't be pleased. We're somebody's fault, speaking somebody's fault. This is a very bad habit. और हमको यही realize करना चाहिए. This is the mindset that we should have. That today I'm mentioning somebody's fault, right? I'm picking somebody's fault. What if my fault would it be? What if my reality would be? You know, we make dua that Allah Ta'ala हम सब के ऐबों को छुपाए. हमारी हकीकत हम खुद जानते हैं कि हूँ बज़ाहिर बड़ा नेक सूरत, कर भी दे अब मुझे इस नेक सीरत. देखिए ज़ाहिर को, of course, a youngster, he came to a buzurg and he said to his teacher, this elder, he said, give me some advice, मुझे नसीहत कर. And the teacher, he said to him, he said, oh son, have you ever washed dishes? And he said, I've seen dishes being washed. And he says, you know, when somebody washes a dish, do they wash it more from the inside or the outside? He said, of course, from the inside, because that's where the food is, right? He said, that's my lesson to you for life. Focus more on your inside than you do on your outside. You know, on our outside, we all look pious. We all want to clean, you know, latest fragrance, smell nice, look nice, appear nice. Allah knows what's going on inside. The diseases of the heart. Yeah? So we should focus more on our inside, focus less on what's going on with other people. This disease of backbiting is it's so common now. And if I ask the question now, okay, or if all of us think, when was the last time that there's a situation, a gathering of people, 2 friends, 3 friends, 4 of us, and we're they're talking about somebody, and I stop myself from saying something. Or I walk away from that situation. And a few people start, they're talking about somebody, I stand up and I go. क्या आपने कभी ऐसा किया? Or we interrupt and we say, you know what, stop it, let's change the conversation. Have you ever seen that happening? That, you know, because backbiting is, you know, it's enjoyable, people love it. People make friendships over backbiting, create an enemy, and then the rest of them, what happens is it solidifies the friendship, unfortunately. Backbiting, people love it. People get together to do backbiting. They look forward to meeting up a weekly basis. Why? And often what's the topic of conversation? What's been happening in their life? Backbiting about their family members, about their work colleagues, about so-and-so, about the neighbors. It's become such a habit. But you know, we should try. Next time you find yourself in that situation, stop yourself. Change the topic. Or forget like that. Oh, have you heard so-and-so? Or forget that. You know there's this gathering happening next week. Right? Try to change the topic. Have you heard such and such a thing? Change the topic, take it away. और इस उम्मीद से करें, इस नियत से करें कि आज हम किसी के ऐब छुपाएंगे, क़यामत के दिन अल्लाह ताला हमारे ऐब को छुपाएगा. Because if our reality is revealed, you know, with all of us, where would we stand? We don't know where to stand. And remember that we think that we're doing it behind somebody's back. He doesn't know what we said. We're backbiting somebody. Backbiting means he's not there, right? He doesn't know what we said. But you know, Allah Ta'ala has put 2 witnesses with each and every single one of us. The Kiram al-Katibin write down every single thing that we do. Every single thing. I'm just going to share with you one story as I finish the bayan for today. About how sins like this can catch up with you. On the Day of Judgment, this is a hadith, a narration, that on the Day of Judgment, a person will be brought to the court of Allah Ta'ala. And he will be given his book of deeds. And in his book of deeds, he will see many sins. Lots of guna. And then he will say, Ya Allah, I didn't commit these sins. Many ye guna nahi ki. Allah Ta'ala will say that I have strong witnesses over this. Allah पाक फरमाएगा कि गवाह मौजूद है. वो जब वो इनकार करेगा कि मैंने गुनाह नहीं किए, Allah पाक फरमाएगा कि गवाह मौजूद है. Then he will look to his right and his left, but he can't see any witnesses. उसको कुछ भी नजर नहीं आएगा. वो कहेगा या अल्लाह गवाह कहाँ है? Where are the witnesses? Then Allah Ta'ala will order his limbs to bear witness. And the ears will say, yes, we listen to haram and we are witness to this. The eyes will say, yes, we saw haram and we are witness to this. The tongue will say, yes, I spoke haram. The hands, the legs, all of his body parts. The person will listen and he will become surprised. Then Allah Ta'ala will order him to be taken to hell. You know, today, हम यूज़ करते सोचते ही नहीं हैं. That person won't find out. But those actions are being written, witnesses. Imagine if this happens to us on the day of judgment. Those witnesses will testify, and then Allah Ta'ala will order for him to be taken to hell. But one hair from his eyelashes, from his right eye, will seek permission to say something to Allah Ta'ala. Upon getting permission, it will say, Ya Allah, did you not say that my bondsman, who moistens any hair from his eye due to crying in my fear, that you will forgive him? Allah Almighty will reply, why not? Then that hair will say that, Ya Allah, I bear witness that this sinner of yours, one occasion that he had cried due to your fear, and because of that I became wet. Listening to this, Allah Ta'ala will forgive and enter him to paradise. What saved him was the fact that he cried in the fear of Allah. Unfortunately for us, the question we should ask him, गुनाह इसलिए करते हैं, क्या खौफे खुदा में हम रोते भी हैं, तौबा भी करते हैं? Do we genuinely repent? That we make sins, Ya Allah, ask him for his forgiveness, for his pardon. इसकी भी आदत बनाए. So that's three things that need to be measured. The first is, make the masjid part of your regular routine. Make it part of your daily routine. Masjid mein aaya karo. Spend time in the masjid. Help out in the masjid as well. The second thing that we talked about was backbiting. Try from today. You know, Allah Ta'ala made this possible. That we heard this today. I'm talking to myself now. That the next time that conversation happens, try to stay away from it. Try to change the topic. And the third thing was, make it your routine, because we're all sinners. Make it your routine to ask Allah Ta'ala for his pardon. Ask him for his forgiveness. Allah is the most forgiving. Allah loves it when his slave asks for forgiveness. But make it your habit to ask him for his pardon, to ask him to forgive you, to say sorry for the mistakes we've made. We pray that Allah Ta'ala gives us all that opportunity. Those opportunities come when we stay connected with Dawat Islami. We're all here today because Dawat Islami organized this. Every Sunday, यहाँ पे इज्तिमा होता है, this gathering takes place. Try to attend every single week and try to invite others as well. If you feel like that we came today and we benefited, कुछ हमने सीखा. Definitely, जब भी आप आएंगे ना, you learn something. Even if it's one thing from the whole bayan, from half an hour, you take one thing away. If we benefited, imagine if every person had somebody else here, how much they would have benefited as well. तो कोशिश करें खुद भी हैं और दूसरों को भी आप दावत दें. Allah Ta'ala हम सबको मग़फ़िरत और